Morning everybody, Geraldine Rose here with a quick mini unboxing, and then we're going to make a card with it for this week's Color Throwdown challenge. This is the one I'm really interested in because it has the Spritz inside from Tim Holtz, the new bundle. The order was done for this morning of June the 15th. I also did another order at that time, actually an hour earlier. This one's here already. The other one is still sitting in the New York International Distribution Center while I bounce it back and forth between departments, and that's been going on for 2 weeks. So goodness knows when the other order is actually going to show up because we are past 3 weeks now. Anyways, we're going to focus on this one and the goodies inside of it. And as I said, get to making a card. The coupon that is still good until August the 25th is still LEAP24 for $5 off your next order. I got a honeybee embossing folder, the burlap one, just for some nice overall texture in the background of cards. And I got one of the Simon Says Stamp hummingbird die sets. The others, the honeybee ones and a few of the others, they were all sold out. But this one's really cute too, so we're going to try that one as well. And then, of course, here's the main star of the show today, which so many people in the US have actually already got. And these are all of the Tim Holtz spritzes that everybody is just wowing about. So he has released them in 12 colors so far. I always thought it was kind of neat that the Twisted Citron one, though, look at it. It's not really actually green inside there. It's kind of an odd bronzy color, but I'm certain it will come out to green on the thing. So we're probably going to be using the barn door one today. Colors this week are blue, red, and using kraft. So I might use the Uncharted Mariner as well. Maybe the peacock feathers. Maybe I'll mix them. Anyway, that's just a quick one, and I am going to get to making this card for the Throwdown Challenge.
Now, much of this video is sped up in spots because I like to layer things, and otherwise we're not getting through it in time. This is a technique where if you push Versamark through a stencil onto glossy photo paper, it causes a resist. So I've pulled out the oxides, I've got barn door, I've got festive berries, just doing the swipe, and of course doing some splooshing techniques here, and you can see that the resist is actually showing up already. So this part I just kept layering up until we got it to the degree that we wanted on the backdrops for this. There's another layer, the other color I believe we were coming in with. Didn't have enough saturation because these are the panels that I'm going to use for die cutting out the mushroom stems that you can see to the side there, the Simon Says Stamp ones. See, now it's starting to get a little bit more concentration on it. And thought, okay, you know me, I like the shine. So we're coming in with the mica sprays. This one was mulled cider, just to add some, extra shiny spots in places. And another of my loves, the transparent gloss, pushing it through an old stencil. I'm sorry, I can't remember the name. It's one of the ones I've had hanging around for years. I just thought the spots would look really good because, of course, mushrooms are supposed to have spots on them. They're supposed to be red with white because that's traditionally how we draw them. This is embossing paste, the candied apple, not embossing paste, embossing glaze in the candied apple. And look at that. When you shake it back and forth, it actually shows up where, because of course it's sticking to the wet paste right now. So I'm like, yeah, I like that effect. And I'm going to wait till that dries a little bit, and then I'm going to cause it to bubble by putting the heat gun on it. So here we're working on the blue panel, and that is another of the mica sprays. They're different technique. This one is smooshing onto the glass mat itself so that it would be smoother, and you can see totally the difference between the two backdrops there. This is heat embossing, causing that embossing glaze and paste to bubble, and this was just drying that panel with the mica spray and the oxide that was on it, and that one was super shimmery. It was pretty. So here, of course, getting out my BetterPress, the Spellbinders Mushroom Duo, making certain it was set down into place properly. grabbing the paper. I was using Canson XL watercolor paper for this because it's a good thick one and it'll actually take that impression with the BetterPress pretty well. Setting it on the platen. Here, using the oxide inks to dab down on my plate, and I find they actually work pretty decently. They're not as good as the BetterPress. However, I've got the full range, so I might as well utilize that. Came back in after putting down brushed corduroy as the base, and then used the red, I believe that was lumberjack plaid, and one of the blues, probably blueprint sketch, to just go across the tops of the mushrooms to bring in that red and the blue that were for the color throwdown challenges this week. And the brown, the brushed corduroy, is because we're using the kraft as the other tone. So here is where, now that the panels are dry, I'm running through with my mushroom stems from Simon Says Stamp. And I'm only doing the portion where it's going to catch the caps because I don't need to have the stems in blue. You'll see a little bit on here. I'm going to do them in kraft. And it's kind of funny pushing out through the glossy photo paper. It actually does cut a little bit differently. There's the stems, and die cutting that BetterPress panel out now that it's a little bit drier with the oxide ink. Always go on the outside with your washi tape so that you actually don't have like a tape impression or tape residue on the inside of your die cut. Pulled out the Big Mama foam tape. I don't trust any tape for not releasing off, and of course I've got such a problem with setting things in place because of my carpal tunnel that I like to put a little bit of glue down, as you can see again. So I'm doing this for the first time, setting it onto the cardstock, which is Nina Classic Solar White Classic Crust cardstock, and running in on the die cuts, deepening up the shadow part that will sit underneath the top layer in both the blue and the red on them. That was my Wallflower grip mat. It works well for the larger pieces, but the smaller pieces, you can see I was still holding them down with my fingernail a little bit. And gluing on the caps at this point. I kind of left the bottoms loose, the stems loose, because I didn't know what angle I wanted to set the mushrooms at on the card. Amy R uses the mushroom die sets quite a bit as well, and she always has them really neatly set with different angles on. So this is my Pinkfresh Arch Backdrop because I got the brilliant idea that I don't like the way that my arched mushroom panel is sitting on that card. I should go back in and actually just put a backdrop on this. So I got out my new Glimmer Aura hot foil, and I cut the arch panel off of the old card stock, kept it for using for under other panels at some point in the future. Ran this through with the Glimmer machine and discovered that you need to plan this out better in the future. The cardstock actually has got an impression all the way through from that arch hot foil plate. It's kind of neat. The effect is cool. Just whoever's going to get the card, they'll have fun writing on the inside of it. Using here my Kuretake Gansai gold tone metallic paints, putting some splatter in because, as Amy R says, splatter is life. I can't get away from it. I couldn't do a clean and simple card to save my soul. And I tried doing it with this, but you can see I've already gone in and changed this a couple of times. So here is the Hello Dear Friend. This was the sentiment that I wanted for the front. Again, got the Glimmer machine out. As I said, loved it. And tying in that Glimmer Aura that we had for the arch backdrop so that we've got some unity through there for the card. Die cutting it out. You can see again washi tape on the outside, so not to embed into the foil especially, which it could rip off if you had it on the inside of the die cut. Again, this is where I can glue this down now with my Kraft Tacky glue from Simon Says Stamp. And because I've already got the foam there from the previous portion that I did with the panel. Now I've got some wiggle room without having to really worry. So I got it nestled right in there. Fits in perfectly with that arch backdrop. Here is where I wanted to bring in some more of that craft color. So I believe I got, oh, what was it? Was it the frayed burlap? Let's see what we've got on there. Anyways, you'll probably be able to see the color better than I will at this stage in the game. Buffing off any of the ink that was sitting on top of the foil there with my microfiber cloth. And here's where I'll fiddle around with the mushrooms for probably about 10-15 minutes, trying to decide where I want them. They actually tied in pretty decently with the Mushroom Duo set. And so I've got a couple of big blues, the small blue, a couple of reds in there as well too. And you can see I'm leaving that space so that I can put the sentiment in the middle on the right hand side. So there we are with the mushrooms glued down, coming in with the sentiment. Decided not to pop it up because I've already got the panel popped up on foam tape. I was just going to set this down. And the photo paper is actually quite flat. And I was still, at this time, trying to go for clean and simple. This one is the Penny Black Thinking of You sentiments that I just got. So many good sentiments on it. So there was one that tied in perfectly with this. And you can see I'm using Toffee from Close to My Hearts first. And then I come in with a secondary color because I've discovered that one's the linen. If you come in with the lighter color over top of the darker ink when it's still wet, it does this neat thing where it kind of pushes the other ink out to the outside and you get like a little ring effect, minimal, that you can see when you look at the sentiment really close. Using my custom stamps from Scrap and Stamp because I think I'm done at this point. And usually this is one of the last things that I'll do other than putting sentiments on. Now I did of course have some extra mushrooms left over, so I put a couple of those on the inside just as a nice little surprise for whoever is opening up the card. Setting them in. And this is where we're putting down the confetti. So this calls for Confetti, the Prism, and the Rainbow and the Champagne from Simon Says Stamp. And I'm like, it needs something else. I don't like clean and simple. So came in with my Nuvo, the Strawberry Coulis, and the Glossy accents was down on the blue portion. And I'm going, okay, now I think maybe I'm done. And I'm looking at it and I'm like, oh my gosh, oh my chicken, I forgot to put down the shimmer spritz. So I cut out paper towel and covered up all of the stuff that was in the arch part in the middle and thought I'll just kind of shimmer over the background. It actually came out more like splatter spatter though. So this is now where it's finished, and you can see I also put a little bit of brown of the watercolor pencils underneath the mushrooms to kind of ground them a little bit better. So wondering, did I push it over? Did I not? I don't know. Anywho, you all be that change you want to see out in the world. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.